Well, I never thought this would be something I'm talking about, but hey, let's talk about Rwby Ice Queendom. Just to clarify, this is my only means of consuming Rwby. I have not watched the original work, so don't crucify me if I say things that end up being inaccurate to events later in the series. I know how Rwby fans are. I probably shouldn't say things like that because it alienates all of you. But I'm not exactly the biggest fan of Rwby, as my only other consumption of Rwby is through videos on YouTube talking about it, and most of them haven't been all too positive. With that out of the way, we can finally play rock, paper, scissors. If you lose, you have to subscribe. On shoot, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. If you lost, hit the sub button, way down there, maybe hit the notification bell, leave a like. Tell me your thoughts on the Ice Queendom anime. And with that out of the way, let's start by being positive. Let's talk about the big thing that is different between Ice Queendom and the original series, and that is the visuals. Ice Queendom is not a 3D monstrosity. Instead, it is a 2D drawn anime instead of the 3D that is the original. That was a really weird way of saying it's 2D, not 3D. Anyway, and let's just say Studio Shaft do an incredible job when there's actual, animation and it isn't just stills with a little bit of mouth movement or stills that just have a camera pan. When we get actual animation of like the fight scenes in episode 1, in episode 2, and episode 3, the visuals are absolutely gorgeous. Like when we see Rwby fighting the thugs outside of the dust shop, when Weiss is fighting that Borgrim in the classroom, and episode 3, what fight scene? Or oh wait, yeah, it skips over the fight scene in episode 3. Anyway, positivity first. Positivity. We'll get to the pacing and stuff that I don't like later on. So visually, it's absolutely stunning. The fight choreography as well alongside that is gorgeous, which is obviously credited to the original work because it is pretty much one for one, at least in terms of stuff like that. And another thing I'm going to be positive towards is the character designs. The main cast, in fact, even the supporting cast for the most part, look amazing. And that is also credited to the original work of, because the character designs are the same. But I will say that the way they are translated from 3D into 2D is beautiful. It's really well done, and all the characters look amazing. Just visually, chef's kiss. Just really good stuff, in my opinion, at least in terms of how all the characters look. They're all very cute, or pretty, or whatever the fuck you want to say about them. I really do like how the characters are designed. Speaking of those characters, let's talk about the main four members of Team Rwby. Our four main girls that we're going to be following throughout this story. So, we have Rwby, who is voiced by my favourite voice actress, Hayami Saori. So I was immediately hooked, not just because of the Shaft type, but because of voice actor hype. God help me. Ruby's energetic, she's bubbly, she's a kid, although she's 15, 16 I think. So she's not all too much of a kid, she's in her teenage years, but she still acts like a massive child. Then there's her older sister, who I could not believe they were actually related, given how starkly different their appearances are, and how Rwby just doesn't look anything like her dad, so I did a little bit of researching into that, so I have been spoiled, I guess you could say, on that. And it's that Rwby and Yang are half-sisters, which I still find hard to believe, given that Rwby looks nothing like her dad, but hey, whatever. Yang, she's sassy, I guess, and yeah, this is about it. That's all there really is to Yang, so far at least. Then we have Blake, who is, to a degree, devoid of personality, but has at least some interesting background going on with her, in that she was a part of this terrorist group called the White Fang, that are a terrorist group formed entirely of this different species. I'll get onto why I call the founders a different species later on, because they are. Because she is also a founders, and she disagreed with some of the things they were doing, so she left and applied for the school that the story initially takes place in, which is Beacon Academy. She's pretty cool. design-wise, she's probably my favorite of the four. I'm not gonna explain why. If you want a video of me talking about why I think Blake has the best design out of the four main members of Team Rwby, if this video gets 10 likes, I'll do it. That seems reasonable. Even though I say it's reasonable because I don't think it'll happen, so I don't have to do that monstrosity of an idea. And then there's Weiss, who will actually act as a perfect segue into talking about some of the more negative things. But Weiss, she's, an Orjol-sama, she's very, stuck up. Even though we see she does have some personal issues going on, her family seems a bit fucked, to say the least. Her brother, Whiteley, I hate the names of the Schnee family. They're just painfully obtuse and just lack nuance, but we're trying to be positive for at least the start of this. We're trying to be positive. He just comes off as a little shit. I don't know why I'm talking about him when I'm supposed to be talking about Weiss. Weiss is pretty cool. I like Weiss. I'd argue she has, like, the most... Well, no, I'd say Rwby has the most personality, followed by Weiss, followed by Yang, followed by Blake. But, yeah. Also, one last positive thing before I get into negatives. The music's pretty good. I do really like Void Chords, and the opening's really good. The insert song, Capabilities and Scenes, pretty good. And the ED by Hayami Sari is also pretty good. So, music-wise, pretty good. And I know that was a concern of a lot of people who like the original because the music wasn't being done by the same person. And from what I've heard, Rwby has pretty good music. I was just stretching there, sorry about that. Pretty good music from what I've heard. So yeah, that was good to see that the music's not half bad. So, given that I said Weiss would be a good segue into the negatives, let's talk about those. And no, it's not that she's a racist. Because, I probably shouldn't say this because it's probably going to make people angry. Weiss isn't a racist. But, don't take that out of context and ignore the but. She's not racist, because Faunus are not a race of people. They're a species of people, much like monkeys with, gorillas and fucking, I don't know, chimpanzees. They're, actually, are chimps and monkeys and stuff. I'm not even gonna, but for the sake of this analogy, gorillas and chimpanzees are not different races of monkey, they're different species of monkey. Much like Faunus are not a race of people, they're a species, and presumably they can also come in different races as well. So labeling Weiss as a racist is technically incorrect. She's a speciesist, which is also bad. I'm not discrediting that, but it's a small little thing I want to point out, as well as the fact that CBR, not that they're a reputable source of information, tried branding Weiss as a white supremacist for not liking Faunus, including the white ones. So they don't even know what white supremacy is. But I'm not here to comment on that, am I? Let's move on. Yeah. Speaking of Weiss being a bigot, it's how the handling of that is done. It's not even remotely nuanced. At all. She's just openly discriminatory, called out for it, and then half an episode later is either pretending to not be, or just isn't anymore, with little to no reasoning as to why she was a bigot in the first place, or why she's no longer bigoted at the end of it. Because the pacing in the third episode of the 3 when they're put together is kind of janky. Sometimes it's pretty good and pretty well paced, and then you have the third episode where it feels pretty quick, especially given that I know they skip over an entire fight scene. That was really jarring. I did not like how that was handled, because it's like, ooh, is something gonna happen? What? A fight happened? What? Well, why do we not get to see it? Huh? What's going on there? What? But yeah, my main problems with Ice Queendom and Rwby as a whole is it lacks nuance and mostly decent writing, especially later into the series from what I've heard from videos I've seen on YouTube. So obviously they could be biased, and I'm sure they are, but it doesn't exactly have the most intelligent writing, and also the pacing of the anime does seem a little bit off, at least at certain times. But the pacing is something you can kind of get behind, given this is a reboot, so it's obviously going to be in some way pandering to people that have already seen the series. So it'll, speed through things, but I don't think you'd want to speed through an action sequence, given that that's what the series has shown it's best at. So who knows what's going on there. Also, I've seen people complain that the reboot that is Ice Queendom is starting from the beginning. Like, excuse me? You're like, why are you complaining that a reboot is starting from the beginning? Like, what? I don't understand. And one last thing I want to touch on is the weird way that the episodes are being put out. Now, this might have changed in a couple of days between me recording this and uploading it, but a week ago from when I'm recording this, the first 3 episodes released as one big, like, mega package. It was an hour-long early premiere, and those 3 episodes released as a bundle. And then a week later, the day before I'm recording this, episode 1 re-released on its own, identical to how it was in the original, just with a credit sequence at the end. Like, as in just a black screen with credits rolling. Now, understandably, a lot of people were disappointed that we didn't get episode 4. But perhaps, you know, these 3 episodes were rushed out, they were done really quickly in advance to get them out, and then Studio Shaft were still working on the 4th episode, and they needed the 4 weeks like they would normally have. But then apparently, given what I saw on Twitter with the official Rwby Ice Cream Twitter account tweeting out that the world premiere for episode 4 happened at Anime Expo. So episode 4 was finished, but it wasn't given to everyone at the same time. At least people that, you know, pay for the legal services to watch it. So what's the deal with that? Why was the 3 episodes released in advance if you aren't then going to release episode 4 after them and just re-release the same episodes again? Now, they might change some things, maybe with episode 3, maybe they give us the fight scene. I'm doubtful that that'll happen, given that if you take away the credit sequence, each episode is about 22 minutes long, and will be about 22 minutes long, and the hour-long special was exactly an hour, and it wasn't exactly, it was around an hour and 6. 3 times 22 is 66 minutes, or an hour and 6. So I don't think we're actually going to get any changes. So if you were expecting that, I'm sorry to dash your hopes, but math doesn't agree with you. So yeah, I'm just wondering why that is being handled that way. I understand you want to give something to con-goers, but it's kind of just a slap in the face to everyone that couldn't be at AX, like myself. Not that I would have gone to AX, even if I could have. It would be way too expensive, first of all. I live in the UK, but it just seems a bit weird to do that. I don't know. It's just me. There's probably some higher up business decision going on. You know, maybe Rooster Teeth are involved. I don't exactly like Rooster Teeth, but yeah, I don't really know, because you get people's expectations up, you get them really built up, really hyped up with the first 3 episodes, and then you kill all their expectations by making them watch the exact same stuff for 3 more weeks. I don't really get it, but hey, it's just the way it is. Not much you can do other than say you don't like it on like Twitter or whatever, and at the creators and tell them you don't like it. But don't harass them. Don't do that. That's not good. Don't harass people. It's not fun. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Rwby. If you want more, if this video does well, maybe I'll talk about it more in future. If it doesn't, I probably won't, unless like there's some big things that happen that I want to talk about in the Ice Queendom. I know there are changes between Ice Queendom and the original, like there's entirely new characters like Shion Zaiden. I should have touched on that earlier, so you don't think I'm a complete mongrel for not knowing that, even though I've seen this stuff discussed. If you watched it this far, then congratulations, you're a human being that likes to listen to all of a person's opinions before trying to critique them. Congratulations, claps to you, pat on the back, 10 points. And yeah, we'll just leave it here, I guess. I've got not much else to say, so this'll do. It's been a long video, and filling this entire thing with images is going to be a pain in the ass. Whatever. Anyway, I've been Animosity, you've been you, and I hope to join next time for the video. Ta-ta, for now.